Frank, what's up, man? Long time in the works. Glad to have you on the podcast, though.
Man, I'm telling you, since you came on, whenever that was, a year ago. Has it been
Yeah,
almost that
probably
long
about
now?
that. Maybe.
Good heavens,
Who knows? Who
I've been
knows?
itching. So I'm
Yeah,
grateful to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
it's pretty amazing. We've had so many incredible people and and we have so many incredible people that we want to have on, like yourself. And it's just hard to weave all that in and find the
Right.
spot and find the time. I feel like I could probably podcast every single day if I had to.
And some people would probably appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't know if my family would. I don't even know if I would, just because of how
No
labor
doubt.
intensive it can be as you're trying to prepare, and even talking sometimes is. I'm an introvert by nature, so even talking sometimes just takes some of my energy away over time. So that's something I need to be aware of as well.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. Well, I
Well, I
said
promise
Frank,
I
but
will
I think I
do my
should
best
call
to not
you.
drain you.
No, no, no. I have no doubt this will be good. Although I have been talking all day for the recording of the book that's coming out, so I did
Dude, I'm
five
so
hours
stoked for
of
you.
reading. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I called you Frank to lead off, but I think maybe I
Yes.
should have called you Dark Helmet though.
Uh, well, you certainly could have. You certainly could have, as many people who listen may know, when they hear this, and those who don't. In F3 Nation, one of our tribal things that we do is give each other idiot nicknames.
I actually have a
So,
nickname,
wait, what? I don't think I
but I
knew
don't
that.
know what it is.
Oh, good,
I'm
good. Because
I meant to reach out to the friend of mine, Cameron Wilson, who brought me to
uh,
an F3 event years and years ago, to have him remind me what my nickname is, but I failed to do that. So,
oh,
can you
hilarious.
are you allowed to explain the origins of your nickname? Is that something
Oh
that's
yeah, 100%.
allowable? So, where
Yeah.
does that
So
dark helmet come from?
I wish that it was like really much cooler than it is. But so it's often a kind of a free association. At the end of the workout, guy who's new, we call him an FNG, standing for friendly new guy. And
Friendly new
we
guy,
kind
right?
of
Okay.
right, kind of stick him in the center of the circle, and we sort of pepper him with questions like, "Hey, so what's where'd you go to school, or tell me about your family, or what do you got for hobbies, or all this kind of stuff, right?" And so it's sort of ends up being kind of this free association deal. Mine took about, I think, 0.3 milliseconds, because I said, well, my name is Frank Schwartz. And as soon as I said Schwartz, somebody was like, you mean like Spaceballs? And then it devolved from there,
Yep.
into they went right to, what was the name of the bad guy? Oh yeah, Dark Helmet. Yeah, we'll call him Dark Helmet. And I was like, well, I could have been like Princess Vespa or something. So I'll take it. Like I'm not gonna
Dark
all right.
helmet sounds cool. It sounds menacing and
It does sound
intimidating.
cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you know the reference, it's not quite as cool, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Is there any sort of we're putting the cart before the horse, but who cares? We can work backwards
We
into
can
other
we can do
stuff.
whatever we want.
That's right. This is the order of man show. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Is there some sort of psychology that you're aware of? Is it even that deep when it comes to men and giving each other nicknames, or is it just something you guys found to be anecdotally funny and useful and build some camaraderie?
Yeah. So again, while I would love, and this will be a theme throughout when we talk about F3, I would love to say that all these things came from some sort of brilliant place of genius, that was deep rooted or whatever. Like most of it's like we stumbled across it and we're like, oh, that's funny. We should do that,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that kind of thing. But so one of the founders, his name was Dave Redding, and he was a former special forces guy. And, so in his army career, he kind of, that's something that is common, right? To give each other nicknames
sure.
or call each other stupid things or whatever. Usually the more insulting, the better, in those cases. And so that was sort of a carryover, I think, from that, just knowing how that builds bonds and builds camaraderie. Plus, it's just a natural part of what Dave does. Like, that's just how he lives his life. He'll nickname everybody. In fact, guys who have nicknames already, often he nicknames again, in his own way. Like, just be, and it's kind of so there's a lot of practical stuff that comes out of it, right? So how many Ryans or Franks might show up to a workout? Well, a lot less Franks, because it's not 70-year-old men showing up these workouts, but uh, can't help what I am, right? But outside of that, 50 Johns might show up, but very few, dark helmets are going to show up, right? Maybe one, right?
Right.
In fact, I'm the only one that I know of in all of F3 Nation. But who knows? We have a lot of like the guys from Chicago, they all want to name him Bartman, for the guy who caught like there's a number of Bartmans,
Right.
right? There's a
Right.
number of
Sure.
Skinners or whatever for like principals and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway. So some practicality to that, and then it also has kind of a now, while we're not a religious organization, and I know we'll get to this in just a bit, there is an element of that idea of kind of getting a new name. The way that Dave often says it when he's naming somebody, he says, your hospital name is the name your mama gave you before she knew what your mission in life was going to be. But we're going to give you a new name, right? Because now you're a different guy. You're a man on a mission now. You're something different, and so we'll give you this new name that you can kind of go through the rest of your life with.
Interesting. So with what you guys are doing, and again, I think we're kind of working backwards into this, but what you guys are doing with F3 Nation, do you feel like you are helping guys be on a mission? Are you helping them find their mission? Are you helping give them purpose? Or do you feel like you're more of an assist along their own personal journey?
No, that is, I would say the answer is yes
Okay.
to all of that, right? So it's kind of a little both. And and this is part of why I was so excited to be on with you today, because I know you're very much in the same state of mind, right? Finding men, putting them on a mission, helping them reclaim their manhood, helping them,
Mm-hmm.
get back to what they were created to be, for crying out loud, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so, I think there's a lot of like, it's funny because oftentimes the report afterward is, man, this is the thing that I needed that I didn't even know that I needed. I had no idea that I needed this. I had no idea that I wanted this. And so sometimes it's guys that are already kind of on a mission or are seeking something, and this is sort of an aid along the way. But we definitely, we spend a lot of time talking about, you know, finding your mission and finding your purpose, and learning to really serve your purpose in the service of
Mm-hmm.
other people, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. Because this is, look, you're roughly the same age as me, a little bit younger. But you kind of reach this point in life where you start asking yourself questions like, wait a minute, is this all there is? Like, I accumulated this crap that the society kept telling me to accumulate. I got this house and got this car, and I've gotten promoted at my job 2 times, and I've got the right number of zeros in my bank account now, and I thought everything was supposed to be like perfect from here, and we're just going to kind of sail this back half. You
Right.
sort of reach
Right.
that mid 40s level, and you're like, wait a minute, I this can't be it. Like, I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel satisfied. I don't feel that deep sense of personal purpose, like I'm doing something in the world, right? And so, again, wish it was genius, wish it was architected this way from the beginning, but it just sort of happened by accident. Dave left the military, found that this disciplined man that he believed himself to be wasn't in the absence of someone yelling at you, telling you when to get up and work out.
Right.
Turns
Yeah.
out he wasn't.
I've wondered that, with the military. I spent a little time in the military, and a lot of these
Mm,
guys struggle when they get out of the military because they don't have that rigid structure. And then you almost ask, is it discipline that you created, or was it just fear? Right. And
right.
just having that system that you could plug into. And then how do you develop that when you get out of an environment that facilitates all of that structure for you?
Right. Well, as it turns out, you go to F3. That's what you do next. That's
Fair enough. Simple.
But to a large degree, that's it, right? So he found himself looking and going, I'm inconsistent in my fitness now. I don't have this brotherhood, and he sort of stumbled across this group that was already doing some of this
Mm,
outdoor workout stuff, but it strictly was a workout. All they
right.
wanted to do was work out. In fact, when the time came that the group got a little too big, the guy who was kind of running it said, "Hey, I've capped the membership. Please don't invite any more guys.
Oh,
We're just
really?
we're just a small workout group. That's just all we want to be." And so Dave was like, he took a buddy of his, Tim, and they said, what if would you care if we started one kind of across town, and started working out across town? And so they're like, well, what do we care? Yeah, do whatever you want, right?
Mm,
So they sort of jumped out, and a bunch of guys who I guess had known about this workout and also were friends of, Dave and Tim, like they showed up.
sure.
So 40 guys show up on day one, January 1, 2001. And they said, yeah, we'll work out. And what started as a workout, once they started getting together more and you start developing friendships and this kind of thing, it just sort of naturally evolved. And so again, while I would love to say that it was, brilliantly thought out and planned from the beginning, it's sort of, we just stumbled over it. And
Mm,
once you start bringing men together and doing manly things, you start realizing these guys would say things like, you know what? now that I'm fit and I have kind of this little more confidence, a little more, better feeling about myself and about my situation, I'm a little healthier. What if I started giving back to other people? And so they would like, hey, why don't we do like a habitat build, or, hey, do you care if we go and mow so-and-so's lawn, cause he's out of commission because he had surgery or something. And, pretty soon it just sort of continued to grow, where it was like, there was this accidental magic formula of men get together for a workout. They experience something, kind of, as we say, dangerous, dirty, and difficult together. Right. And after they do that, then they form that bond and they start saying, hey, I think we're made for more. And we figured out that this is kind of one of many things. Anybody could do any number of things, right? But one of many things that will lead you to sort of solving your midlife crisis problem, and helping you figure out what your mission is and figure out what your fulfillment looks like for that back half.
When did you get involved with it? Because it sounds like the two guys founded it essentially, and then you got involved later. Is that right?
I did. Yeah. Yeah. So it was a couple years in. And I just sort of, it was kind of word of mouth. I was, well, candidly, I was about 50 pounds heavier. Yeah. Yeah. And I was going to the doctor for my annual physical, and she was like, so, you're a stroke waiting to happen. And
Really?
yeah, she was like, you've got high blood pressure and high cholesterol, and you got sleep apnea, and, blah, 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 all this stuff. Right. So
Yeah.
she was like, look, next time you come in here, I'm going to put you on a bunch of medicines and all this kind of stuff. This was I guess it had been 2014.
Okay.
So whatever that is, 8 years. And she said, so, kind of you pick, right? And I kept hearing about this F3 thing. And I was like, that sounds really hard and really stupid. I'm just going to go to the gym. And so I started going to the gym, and, I walk on the treadmill or whatever for my mile, sort of, light jog. Then I would get on the machines that I really didn't know what they did. And I would move them around a little bit and, pretend to pick up some free weights and stuff. And so I was losing a little weight, like
Right.
not a
Of
ton,
course.
but I was like, all right, look at me, I'm doing good. And guys, just, I kept hearing about this F3, F3. And I was like, all right, fine. There was a guy that worked for me that, had lost a bunch of weight. And I was like, all right, what are you doing, man? Like, what is your deal? And he was like, well, I'm doing F3. And I was like, all right, I guess that's like the nail in the coffin. I've been hearing about this all the time. So I finally just showed up on a Saturday, and, it's an hour long on Saturdays where I am. And typically they have two guys leading. And that's one of the things we'll talk about in a minute, is kind of those core principles. But it's always peer led, right? There's no
Right.
professionals involved. Nobody's paid. It's all free. And so I show up, and this guy goes, leads us through about 30 minutes of workout. And I was like, holy crap, that's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And then he goes, all right, so now for the second half, I'm going to hand it off to this guy. And I was like, how in the
You're
hell
like,
is there a
wait,
second
what?
half? Like, I'm going to die. Please don't do this. And then from there, you start getting a little better shape, and you realize this is much harder than what I would push myself if I just go to the gym by myself.
Right.
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 And then pretty soon I was just hooked. And we'll dive into, a little bit more about the kind of the why it got me hooked. But that's sort of the progression. About 8 years ago, I was, so fat that my doctor was like, hey, you're going to die if you don't do something. And I was like, well, I guess I better do something.
Yeah. Better
So
change the
sort of
course of
left
action.
there.
What,
Yeah.
but it's just a weekly thing typically, right? You guys aren't getting together every day, or are you?
Oh
Or,
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Every single day. And typically, like, so in our part of the world, I'm just a little south of Charlotte, North Carolina.
okay.
And it originated here in Charlotte. That's
Right. I
where,
knew that.
where these guys live, and where it kind of came from. And so on any given day, like today is, as of this recording, is Thursday, in the little suburb where I live, right outside of Charlotte, there are, I think, 4 or 5 different workouts happening around my little town, because there's just that
But
many guys.
are you typically just a member of one of the groups though? Or how does that work?
So it's a good question. So typically, like, we say member, like, we're not really counting you, like we're not taking your
Right. And
registration
there's no
dues or whatever,
fees
right?
and all this kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Sure.
exactly, right. So, but you typically, very geographically based, right? So I typically go to the ones that are just kind of near my house. Sometimes I branch out a little and go different places because of, my role in the nation and things like that. And so I'll travel around a little bit, and they'll ask me to lead different workouts at different places and stuff like that. But generally speaking, for my everyday, when I get after it in the morning, I'm doing it, at the high school near my house, kind of thing. Um, so yeah, there's a little bit of regionality to it, in that sense, and the way we break things down, it gets a little more complex as you get up higher in the, in terms of kind of how we break things down in the leadership. But yeah, it's very, very geographically centered.
Right. I noticed there was nothing in Maine.
Well, that's really the reason I tricked you to get on the
I
podcast, Ryan. I need you
figured.
to
I
start
figured that's what
something.
it was. But look, in all
uh,
honesty, you're barking up the wrong tree. Like I
I
have
think you're a
got
little busy, bro.
yeah, I have got so, and I'm usually I'm like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's start it. And I'm coming to the realization that I just can't, and I don't actually want to do it all. I want to be good at the things that I want to be good at, and I'm
Yeah,
satisfied with that.
yeah. It serves none of us to branch out beyond, and that's one of the things we talk about a lot in F3 too. Is like, we sort of say, like, everyone says, "Oh, get out of your comfort zone," and we say, "Nah, you know what? Get in your comfort zone. Figure out those things that you're best at, and do the hell out of those things. Like
Yeah,
really
and I
lean
think
into
that's a
those
good
things."
point. And I think if you do that, you are at some point going to push outside of your comfort zone because you're going to need to be introduced to new skills or new
Sure,
practices that you're going to need to learn that aren't comfortable but will advance your mission.
absolutely, and so we kind of refer to that instead as the complacency zone, right?
Mm,
Get comfortable, but don't get complacent, right? So push past that, and again, we're just half of it. We make up the words and change them around a little bit just to piss people off, so we can have the conversation, you know. So there's a little of that in
yes.
there,
That's all right.
but
Everybody is
yeah,
manipulating words, and they
yeah,
are just a manipulation of sounds, right? That's all words are.
sure, yeah, exactly. So yes, there is none in Maine, but maybe one day.
Yet, you
Yet,
said that we could get into the reason that you got hooked on it. What were some of the reasons that you got hooked? I mean, obviously there's the faith element, there's the fellowship, which I think a lot of men are
yeah,
sorely lacking, myself included in a lot of ways.
sure,
And then there's clearly the fitness component of it.
yeah, absolutely. So that, yeah, to kind of back it up and sort of give the what is this and what the heck are we talking about here, right? So F3 stands for fitness, fellowship, and faith, and those are kind of the three components, right? And we equate those to fitness being developing a right relationship with yourself, right? So that involves everything that you take into your body, in terms of into your mind and into your actual mouth, the things that
Mm-hmm.
you put in there, right? The things you eat, the
Sure.
things you drink, whatever it might be, right? And so you have to have discipline over those things in order to become a high impact man, in order to do the work that God put you here to do. And so that first F is that right relationship with yourself. That second F, the fellowship, is then putting yourself in that right relationship with those around you. And we believe that that your significant other. Some guys aren't married. We harass them a lot to get married. There's a guy that I meet with on a monthly basis, as kind of a mentee, and every time he sits down, I'm always like, "So how we doing?" Because he's got this longtime girlfriend. I'm like, "When are you going to take her off of the Class B dependent list and put her in make an honest woman out of her?" Right.
Right,
Um,
right.
so you got to have a right relationship with those people around you, starting with your wife, moving to your kids, and then move into that close group of men around you. And then eventually you get to the work relationship. And unfortunately, in our society, as you know, we have a bad tendency to flip it all around, right?
Mm,
We put work right at the center of our target. And then, our relationships with our wife and kids, be darned, right? They just kind of fall into a disarray. And that's why we have a high divorce rate, and we have, all these other things, because men, this is part of what really hooked me, is men seek to gratify their own ego if left unchecked,
mm,
right? And so by virtue of that, I will go where I get the easiest strokes to my ego. And the place
right,
I get the
sure.
easiest strokes to my ego is at work, man. They promote me, they give me more money, they, give me spirit points, and I can buy mugs, all the idiot things
Is that a
that we do.
thing? I haven't heard of that, but
Oh man, you got to go to like big corporate. I mean, think like massive companies. That's
okay.
the kind of recognition programs and stuff that
Right.
you get,
Gee,
right?
thanks for the mug. You're the world's greatest employee. Really appreciate
Right.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, we gave you this 47-cent Chinese mug for the fact that you slaved 10 hours extra a week for the last 20 years, like what, like, okay,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah,
Yeah. You,
brilliant.
you increased our bottom line by,
Yeah.
$300,000 this year. Here's a 47-cent mug back for you.
Yeah. Does that not indicate how desperate we are for recognition and for love?
Hmm.
I mean, that is, if we will take that and be satisfied by that, you got to be kidding me. And so that's part of what, again, getting those right relationships with yourself, because you need to get love and recognition and all that kind of stuff from the right places. You need to get that from your family first, and then from that close group of men around you. That's where you really need it, and ultimately from your creator. mean, that's where you can get your recognition from. So then that third F is that right relationship with your creator. It's the faith. And when we talk about faith in F3, some people think we're a Christian group. We're not. Some people think that we, are connected to some sort of church or something. We're not. Mm-hmm. We are about as agnostic, not agnostic, I shouldn't say it in the sense of like, we're not really sure what it is, but more of like in terms of affiliation, we're about as neutral as you get. Right.
Right. Right.
And we believe that you as a man that is going to have impact in your world must believe in something bigger than yourself. And you must seek to serve that at all times. And so for me as a Christian, we share a faith, right? We believe that that's God. Our job is to serve God at all times, right? For another man, that might be, he may call his God something different. He may call him, Allah or something like that. Okay, fine. Whatever that thing is, right? Or as Dave often says, or if you're a Bob Dylan spiritualist and you think the answer is blowing in the wind, brother, that's good enough for us, right? We don't really care, so it's submission to that greater standard. And so the thing that really hooked me kind of to get all the way back around to your question is at the end of every workout, we end in what we call a COT or circle of trust.
Okay.
And this is part of what differentiates us, I think, from pretty much every other, fitness-based community on the planet, is kind of what happens there. Number one, since it is free, that makes a big difference. We removed all the barriers to entry, right? And try to make it as simple as possible. We don't even have a facility that you have to go to. You can just show up at the park, man.
Right.
Just like walk up and be like,
I've done one exercise with a friend, Cameron Wilson, and we did it. We did it in South Carolina at a park there, and just a bunch of guys got together. It seemed very informal, but also had the structure that was like, okay, this is actually a thing, right?
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, very interesting.
And so, we say, hey, it's open to all men, so anybody can show up, and it's always outside, and there's no requirement of any certification or anything to lead, and so it's very kind of grassroots and very raw. But that thing at the end, that circle of trust, is where men share what's on their hearts with the other men in the circle, right? So you might be standing in a group of, let's say, 8-10 guys, right? And I've been in these groups, right? I've been in this circle where men look and say, and I remember, and God rest him, right? He got hit by a car and killed, not related, but his F3 name was Shopback. And so Shopback comes in the circle and he says, and kind of bowed head, hanging down at the end of the workout. And we're kind of going around and sharing a little bit about like, hey, does anybody need prayer for something? Or, hey, what's going on in your lives? This kind of thing. Right. And he says, gentlemen, I've been having a lot of thoughts lately about women and brown liquor. Recovering alcoholic, right?
Yeah.
And we said, Shoppy, buddy, talk to us, let's go. And he starts to unload, right? A little bit about what's happening in his life.
Right.
So
then
at the end of that, right then and there, in that very raw, open place, with this group of 8 or 10 guys that are standing around. And he unloads and he starts telling us about the thing he's been thinking and the stress that he's under. Couple kids heading to college, not really sure about finances, not really sure about this, whatever it is. And it's driving him and pushing him. He hasn't fallen off the wagon, but he's thinking about it.
Right.
And so, I remember I walked up and I said, okay. And so the one thing that happens is right there at the end, again, as Christians, we said, hey, let's pray. And so we pray for him right there. And something we participate in that circle of trust oftentimes is something we call a ball of man.
Okay.
And that's really just, you walk up and lay a hand on a brother during that prayer at the end, right? And so you say, okay, Shoppy, here we go. And we pray for him. And then I remember I said, Shop, tell me this, what time of day is the worst for you? Like, when is that temptation the highest? And he says, man, it's right at noon, right at lunch. And I said, okay, brother, at 11:59 every day, I'm going to text you and we're going to decide whether your head is up your rear end or not.
Right.
Like, okay, let's go. And it was, preceding that, for me, it was the very first time that I stood in that circle and had, these guys lay their hands on each other and they share what's on their hearts and they pray for, I was like, what in the world is this? This is ridiculous. And I remember coming home and telling my wife, I was like, sweetheart, I think I figured out what the church is supposed to be doing. Like, I think this is what the men's group at church is supposed to be like. And she was like, well, that's blasphemous. And I was like, is it, like, I'm not
Right.
sure. Like I'm
I mean, that's
feeling
one of the
something here.
questions we get all the time from our guys is because they notice when it comes to organized religion, uh, how effeminate it is, how sedated and watered down and bland even
Yeah.
that it is. And like
Yeah.
like you said, or your wife said, it feels blasphemous, but that's really the problem of the church that humans have created. And
Yeah.
you're right, men need to get together and what did you call it? Dirty, dangerous, and what was the
Dirty,
other one?
dangerous, and difficult.
And difficult. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what we should be doing as men, of course.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, go run a Spartan race together. Go do a, whatever, build a house, serve your community, whatever the thing might be, right? But get in there, get raw, get your hands dirty. And so that's,
Right.
really that's ultimately the mission of what we're trying to do, right? The stated mission of F3 is that we plant, grow, and serve small workout groups for men, in order to invigorate male community leadership. And so we're a leadership group at our core. That's really what we are.
Right.
And the workout is just the vehicle that gets us there. Like we always joke and say, look, if knitting was the thing that men wanted to do to get together and come in community and, fine, we'd knit,
Then
but
knit.
it's not.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Turns out it's working out and rolling around in the grass and, throwing rocks and, lifting tree logs above our heads, to get a
Yeah.
workout in. Like that's what it is. Very primal.
Yeah. I feel very similarly about jujitsu, right?
Yeah.
Uh, because it's difficult, it's
Yeah.
dangerous, and it's dirty. I mean, you're
It
rolling around
is.
in other people's sweat and it's disgusting. And
Yeah.
but at the same time, that's exactly what we need. And I always feel edified and uplifted when I go in and I train and then I get back and I feel better, you know?
Yeah. In fact, it's funny because jujitsu is one of those things, and we don't do it in F3, although I don't know why we wouldn't, except for the fact that we're in a parking lot, and so maybe you could really hurt yourself. But you probably need a mat or something anyway. But the whole idea, right? And especially with jujitsu, that's part of what I love about that is, yes, it's dangerous, it's dirty, it's difficult, and it's never the same. You're never going to go and have there's no routine to it, right? It's you against another man, and there's constant problem solving, and it's something to keep your brain engaged. And that's part of what I like. It's like I don't know a better way to say it, so I'm making this up on the spot, but it's like safe chaos, you know, like
Yeah.
it's like controlled chaos, I guess. And I've heard that before, but where you're subjecting yourself to some degree of unknown, and this could go very poorly, but I'm going to subject myself to this dangerousness and this dirty, difficult thing, in order
Mm-hmm.
to build up my endurance and build up my mental toughness and build up my durability and my stability. Right. I mean, you
Right.
had Michael Easter on a while ago now, but he
Yeah.
talks all the time about the comfort crisis, right? And how we're soft. I mean, we're just as soft as can be,
Mm-hmm.
and live these very controlled lives. And so finding a way to have this a safe place where you can have an element of danger and an element of unknown to build that durability is super important as a man.
Yeah, for sure. So you started as like you said, quote unquote member, but then you've worked your
Yeah.
way. Now, if I understand correctly, you're the president of F3. Is that right?
Yeah, it's funny that a free group of completely
Right.
volunteers, right, has some sort of leader at the top of it anyway. So that's comical in and of itself. And then to infer that there, or rather imply that there might be some kind of authority that comes with that is also almost equally comical. And
Right.
so the beautiful thing about it is this, we operate on a very decentralized model, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any say so over what happens to the guys in Princeton, New Jersey, or Omaha, Nebraska, or Los Angeles. I don't have any say so over what happens in those workouts with those guys. We don't have a
Right.
program. You're making it up as you go, right? You're living in it as it goes. The only thing that serving in this job does is, I get to I get to look ahead, and we talk a lot about 43 feet of leadership, right? Because a good
Mm-hmm.
leader probably only has about 43 feet of good road ahead of him, while he's trying
Okay.
to run the race. He's clearing it
Yeah.
best he
Sure.
can for the guys behind him, right? And so we're I get to sit there and kind of look out and vision cast a little bit and say, hey, this is what I see. This is what I think we ought to be focused on. These are the things we ought to be thinking about. And so I get to be kind of that cultural drumbeat, but I don't have any authority, to do. I can't revoke somebody's charter,
Right.
be like, you're
Right.
done. You're
Well, but
fired.
how do you maintain quality control? Because I'm sure there's I'm sure there's things that go off
Oh
the
yeah, yeah.
rails, or you have a toxic member, or you
Sure,
have, maybe somebody who's um, like the perceived head of the group and is leading guys astray. So there's got to be some
sure.
sort of quality control in there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's kind of you said, how did I get to be here? That's kind of the beauty of it, right? Is it's like a guy who exhibits leadership gets promoted whether he likes it or not. We don't really have positions. We have some formalized structure ish to it.
Mm-hmm,
But if
mm-hmm.
somebody went and changed all of it and called it all something different, did it a totally different way, we don't care. You know,
Right.
the way that we do this and the way that we keep it kind of, I don't know, under control is the right word, but certainly uniform, right? Is we have a pretty solid culture. And the reason is we keep it simple.
Mm.
We don't have rules. In fact, I've often joked and said, if you say the word rule around me, like I'll smack it right out of your mouth. Because because a problem with rules, Ryan, as you well know, is you can never make enough of them.
Right. And then you
Right.
have to have a rule for the rules and everything else. And it just gets, a mess. It's a mess.
Yeah. So we have our mission, right? Plant, grow, and serve small men's workout groups for the invigoration of male community leadership, right? We have 5 core principles, which are number 1, that it's free
Mm-hmm.
all the time, no matter what. Number 2, that it's open to all men. And this is the one that guys get really twisted up on sometimes. And it makes some guys mad, it makes some guys happy, and whatever. But we ain't joking around. When we say all men, that's what we mean. We don't care where you come from socioeconomically. We don't care, where you come from in terms of, black, white, bond free. You pick. We don't care.
What you said that it might make people mad. Like who would be mad about that?
I'll tell you. Okay, so I'll give you an example. Is one of the things a question that comes up a lot is, well, what if there's a chick that's like transgender and says she's a dude? And I was like, look, bro. First of all, and I don't mean this to be negative toward anybody, but first of all, a person in that situation probably not super interested in what we're doing, right?
Yeah, probably. Not
But
necessarily, but
but
probably.
let's hypothetically say that they show up, right? I say the criteria is this. Excuse me, are you a dude? And if that person says yes, then the next question is, will you do burpees? And if that answer is yes, then just proceed with the workout. Like
Mm.
I'm not going to check, right?
Yeah, that
I'm
would
not
not be
policing.
that. I don't think you said guys get promoted to leadership. I think whether they want to or not, I think you'd have a hard time getting a guy promoted to the checker of the gender.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, man, guess what? You got promoted to ball checker. It's awesome. What a great job.
That's right.
Yeah,
Drop them. Let's see.
yeah.
Everybody
Let's
drop them
go.
first before. Yeah.
Yeah, turn your head, cough, whatever, right? So, so when we say all men, I guess that's the thing that some guys get twisted up about, is because we say we're not qualifying it, and we're not apologizing for it.
Right.
If you're willing to come and subject yourself to the same idiot stuff that we are, fine.
Mm.
But we are pretty firm about no chicks, right? No women.
Right.
And really the reason for that is that this is number 1, we don't have book club. This is book club. This is a place where men are allowed to share intimate things with other men, right? Things that are on their soul, things that are heart things. And it's not appropriate for women to be there for that. It's certainly not appropriate for me to share what's on my heart if somebody else's wife is standing there. That's
Yeah.
not her business,
Right.
And
Well, and it's not, and it changes the dynamic when women are involved.
oh yeah,
And it's, there's a time and a place, sure.
sure,
But when
absolutely.
women are involved, men posture.
Oh
There's a lot of
yeah.
ego that
Oh
gets in
my
the way. You
gosh.
can't fully share to the degree that you would because
Yep.
you're worried about maybe some sort of sexual harassment claim, all kinds of things that could
Oh yeah.
potentially arise from that.
Yeah. So all men and only men, right? And then that third core principle, in order, in our effort to keep it simple, is that we always do it outdoors. Rain or shine, heat or cold, doesn't matter. And some guys go, well, what about the guys in Minnesota? They don't care. I don't know what they're made of up there, but they don't care. 2 feet of snow on the ground, fine.
Do it.
The joke, yeah, right? Yeah, the jocko, right? Good.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right. Because you go the running joke in F3 is there's no bad weather, just bad gear. Right.
Mm,
If you're cold and I'm so sorry, well then maybe you should put on another pair of gloves and shut up and do the
right.
burpees. Like we're just
Do
not
something
interested.
different.
Yeah. Like, suck it up, because life doesn't tell you what it's going to do. Life just happens. And so in order for us as leaders and as men in our homes and in our communities to be the most prepared that we can possibly be, we have to subject ourselves to that controlled chaos. We have to roll with men and go, I don't know what the outcome's going to be. I might get my face, pushed in. Okay,
Right.
great,
Right.
great. I will learn from that and I will adjust to that. And I will, over time, I will become harder and stronger and all those kinds of things from that. Right. So always outdoors, no matter what. And some guys are like, well, what about lightning? And I'm like, look, you are a grown man. Why are you asking me these questions? Use your
Exactly.
brain, man. Like, well, shouldn't we shut down the workouts? We never started the workouts. There's no formal anything, right? It's not like it's registered on the town council, calendar of events that we have to put out an announcement. Like, just don't show up. If you don't want to be there, don't
Right.
come.
Make your
But if you
decision.
do,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Do what a man would do, decide something and then go do it.
Well, I think people are looking for outs for everything, right? We definitely want to find a way to take the path of least resistance. We don't want to expose any of our weaknesses, and so if we can ask these what about and what ism and what if type questions, maybe we can get ourselves out of doing a workout. It's like, what I told you had to do the workout. Don't do it.
It's so stupid, but that's exactly it, right? And that's what we're fighting against, and we'll talk about that in just a second. I'll finish this first, because I'm like the ADD king and I've been all over the place already. But so the fourth thing that we do, right, is that it's always peer led. And that's that beautiful thing about the fact that it's not like, oh, okay, Ryan got elected instructor of for life. And so now he's the guy that prepares the workouts and he's the one that tells us when to come. And he's, he stands there with his clipboard and is like, oh, you could squat a little lower there, biggin, right? That's just not how it works, right? We're a leadership group. So never mistake the idea that we're there for the workout just solely for the workout, right? Some of these guys, I'll tell you, the financial analysts of the world, maybe they've never had a job or a position where they've had to stand in front of men and try to lead them, right? And so what better place for them to come, a soft place to fall? I mean, now look, we'll mock you, sure, but that's what men do, right? But there's no real repercussion that's of any real damage. We'll make fun of you and then you'll live and then you'll toughen up a little bit and you'll do it again later and you'll get better at it. Right. But they may not have stood in front of a group of 10, 15 or more guys and said, hey, follow me, do what I'm doing. Let me show you how this is going to get done. Go where I tell you to go. You know what I mean? Like, and had any real command over a group. And so we put them in that situation on purpose because we're a leadership group. Right. Not a workout group, right?
Right.
And then the fifth core principle is that circle of trust. It always ends in a circle of trust. If you did not end in a circle of trust, it does not count, right? It was not enough for your workout. Hey, you did a wonderful workout, that's wonderful, but no.
Is that circle of trust, anybody can share, anybody can participate in that, and at any time at the end of that workout, it sounds like.
Yep, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Totally open.
That's interesting because I know there's so many guys that want to share, but don't really have an outlet to be able to share some of the things that are on their heart, some of the things they're struggling with. So that's got to be a powerful outlet for these guys.
Oh, it's huge. And I'm sure you see it too in the groups that you run, right? I mean, there's,
well, I have it my own life. I have it, it's like people constantly turn to me for input and advice and guidance and direction. And then, at times I've been decent about having people in my corner.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And other times in my life, I'm not, where it's like, I don't actually know where I turn. Like, I'm here to help all you guys, but what about me?
Yeah.
What
it's
do I
lonely
do
in
to be
there.
able to? Yeah, it can be.
Right. In fact, that's one of the things, and we keep seeing these articles about it all the time. Time Magazine, WAPO, all these people are putting out these things saying like, the great plague of our time is male loneliness. And that's probably true, right? It's probably true.
I don't know if it's the biggest issue of our time necessarily, but
whatever.
But it's hyperbole and it's clicks and things like that.
Sure.
But yeah, loneliness, lack of camaraderie, lack of you use the term friends. Fellowship. I would use the term brotherhood. Same concept.
Yeah.
Is a real issue for most men. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And them sitting in their basements, with their online friends playing Call of Duty or whatever it is. I don't know how to break it to you, brother. And I'm sorry if this is the first time you heard it and I don't want to hurt your feelings, but it doesn't count. It doesn't count. Like, it's good. It's okay. Like, it's maybe like, that's like a 5, but 10 is standing next to another man, laying your hand on him and sharing what's in your heart and hearing what's in his, and then finding a way to support each other. That's community. That's real. You guys, shooting the bull over, video game, that's fine. That's good. And it's better than nothing. Right.
Right.
But there's a lot of these, articles out there that talk about like, oh, if men had better friends, blah, 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 then these things wouldn't have, these societal ills wouldn't exist. And we're like, yeah, we know. That's why we're trying to spread fellowship to every man in the whole world.
And I agree. I mean, that's obviously what I'm trying to do as well. But the problem is that much of society, when they say that, what they really want is they want men to act like women with each other, where we sit around and we hold hands and we sing Kumbaya and we knit, like you were talking about earlier. These are a lot of these are not accurate reflections, I'm sure, of what most women do, but that's what society wants us to do. They want us to act like women. Yes. And then when we don't, and we mock and tease and ridicule or fight or like run or beat each other, they're like, how barbaric,
Yeah, you're toxic. You're barbaric. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
And I'm like, good. You know what? Toxins, they kill weak things. Good. So maybe that's what I am. Maybe I'm toxic.
That's fine. Interesting.
Great. If that's what it is, then fine.
Toxins kill weak things. Absolutely. No, that's cool. So what are how does it work within, if it's all free and there is some sort of organization, you've got to have another full-time job. Like, this isn't what you do full-time.
No.
Okay. So what do you do? What do you do for work?
So my my quote unquote real job is I've been running my own little boutique corporate communications firm for the past 15, 16 years. And that's my real job. That's what brings in money, and that's supports the families that work for me and that kind of thing. But so yeah, I have my own deal that feeds my fam, and then this is just on the side because I'm too stupid to know when to say no. And no, it's something that I believe in so strongly. It's and much the same way, right? I mean, you didn't start Order of Man just out of the blue and be like, and you weren't like, didn't get like Series 3 funding or something. You know what I mean? Like,
no, right?
You bootstrapped it, right? I mean, you did it alongside when you were still working someplace, right? Until it became obvious that you needed to not do that anymore. And in a similar way, and this will never be a paying endeavor for me, but it's one of those things that you believe in so strongly that you can't not do it. I can't not do this. I can't not want to unlock men's minds. I can't not, allow them to continue to just zombie their way through life. And the reason I can't do that is because that's what I was doing, man. And it was freaking miserable. It was the worst. And I didn't even realize it. I mean, I had all the stuff that I thought I was supposed to have, running a successful business. I had nice suits that I wore to, look pretty good, drove a nice car, was talking to my wife about, hey, maybe we'll move to the big neighborhood, babe. Like all the good things, And of course, my wife, being very smart and spiritual and good, she was like, sweetheart, I don't read anything in the Bible that says doubling your house payment will bring you closer to God. And I was like, well, maybe nobody asked you,
Yeah, right.
Right. But, so thankfully I didn't do those things, but yeah, it's completely run by volunteers. There's one salaried employee in all of F3, and he is the executive director of our 501c3, and he, the F3 Foundation. And so he was just hired, I guess, 2 years ago now, to help us kind of turn that into something, because we're all just a bunch of volunteer idiots sitting around going, oh no, I guess people could give us money.
Yeah, right.
So he knows. So
yeah, you have to have somebody there to direct that. Yeah. You said that you're not checking in on people. There's no registry or anything, but there's got to be some sort of registration where people can go and see like where the workouts are, who to contact, what time, all that kind of stuff. So you're tracking all of these organizations and groups that are getting together throughout the country. Is it global
the best
too?
We can. The best we can. Yeah, it is global. It is global, as a matter of fact. And a lot of the global, it's so funny. And I know I don't want to run us out of time or anything, but like, we've got groups now in Germany, in England, we've got 2 in Kenya now, 1 in Uganda. We've got a group, 2 groups actually in Australia that are sort of loosely affiliated. Those guys are more like, running the bushes than even we are. We're like, man, you guys are nut jobs.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right.
So,
I bet.
Yeah, but it's all over the place. We've got one in Peru, and that a lot of the expansion internationally has sort of it comes from one of two places. One, it'll be kind of an expat situation, right? Like a guy, as an example, a guy got moved to Seoul, Korea for his work, and he was an F3 guy here, and he was like, well, I'm going to start it there if I'm going to be here for the next 4 years, on this assignment or whatever. So he plants a
Right.
flag and says, "Let's go," right? And so there's that kind of thing, or it might be a guy who was here, and then went home. Like the German one was a guy who was here for work for a few years, and then he went back home to Germany and then started it there.
Got
And
it.
then every once in a while, there's like this kind of thing, right? Someone will be like, "Oh, I heard about F3 on the Older Man podcast," and so he'll write in and say, "Hey, how do I start it where I am? Because I don't see one near me." Right. So we keep a
Right.
map. We have certain centralized things. Most things are pretty decentralized, but we have a centralized mapping and centralized lexicon and some of those kinds of things. So you guy can kind of get a sense of like, hey, this is what F3 is all about. Um, but generally speaking, I mean, even the websites that are run, like if there were one in Maine, the guy, whoever that would be, started f3maine.com, right? And it's your own website. You guys run however you want. All we say is there's a mission and there's 5 core principles, man. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's so
You
that's
know,
so interesting to me because I mean I've thought about creating chapters and things like this,
sure.
not to the degree or even really what you guys do, a little different, obviously. And one of the things that I have the biggest concern with is just controlling the quality of it and making sure that each chapter is really representing what we're trying to do very
Yeah.
well. And it sounds
Yeah.
like it's working for you guys without really having to regulate a lot of that. That's a very interesting phenomenon to me.
It is. And I would say that some of it's accidental. And we do have some, obviously, there's some intentionality to it now. At the
Of
very
course,
beginning, it
right.
was super accidental. But now, when I was asked to take this on, I guess I'm in year number 3 now. So doing this president deal, when I was asked to take this on, it was kind of like, hey, there's never been a president before. There's never been this stuff before. And we're growing fast and we really just don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And can you fix it? And I'm like, what do you mean me? I don't know.
Right, right.
I just, but so you sort of lean in and go, okay, what are we going to get done here? All right, here we go. And so we start looking at how do I break this up into where it's manageable chunks, and how do I
Mm-hmm.
spread the leadership down to where it's happening in this very decentralized, way. So, now all the way down to the individual workout that happens, at the high school on a certain day has a leader, right?
Mm.
That was something that was kind of
Yeah,
happening before they realized, we got to spread this out, and that's a very military thing as well, right? You disseminate the leadership all the way down so that every man's a leader,
sure.
right?
Yeah, right.
And so now we just continue to kind of scale that out, but the beauty of it is that no one's in charge. It is essentially effectively a leaderless organization. I get hit by a bus tomorrow, and I don't probably 90% of the world be like, oh, the podcasts have stopped dropping. I wonder what's going on. Like that'd be about the only way
And
they
they
would
would
know.
find a new one and then they wouldn't
Right.
think anything of it. Right.
Exactly.
Within a week,
And it
if
and it
that.
all continues. Exactly. And so while we look at society, the goo society that spreads all over and wants you to be trapped and wants you to have ego and wants you to do things their way, and to succumb to the masses and what they're offering you. We look and say, we're the anti-organization, man.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that we look at and we go, what would a big business do? And whatever that answer is, we go, okay, let's do the opposite of that.
Right.
You know, oh,
I like
centralized
it.
power. Nope, done. Forget
Nope,
it.
not doing
We're not
that.
doing that. Right. Make it easy, make the workouts easier so that you'll attract more guys. False. No, make them harder and make men, strive to get there harder. And
Mm.
it works, right? It works because there's literally nothing. Well, 99%, right? You never want to be a total pain in the butt. But so much of what our world offers us as truth it's just wrong. It's
Oh
just not
yeah.
right. It's just
It's
not
not
right.
truth, right? It's just this distorted, warped perception of reality. And it's creating a very dangerous environment for a lot of people.
Agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Agree.
Well,
Yeah.
cool, man. Well, what's next on the horizon for you and also for F3 Nation and what you guys are doing?
We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue. I mean, we have some pretty aggressive growth goals that we right now are pretty well on track. We plan to hit, and again, this is a little bit of an estimate because we aren't tracking, with real keen accuracy, right? So, the reason we broke up the nation into all these little parts is so that we have some kind of feedback, from the bottom, so that
Sure.
we, kind of know what's going on, right? But we have some pretty aggressive goals. We plan to, by the end of 2025, have about 250,000 guys as part of the organization. We have visions of being able to bring these thoughts and this thing and aligning with groups, and guys like you, because my view is, this is the other thing that is so good about it being free. I have no monetary, tie up in this
Right.
whatsoever.
Right.
All I want to do is further the mission. My mission, your mission, it's all the same mission in my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if a guy comes and turns into more of a man because he goes to Order of Man, or because he shows up at an F3 workout, or because he goes to whatever, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me, because it's all on the same trajectory. Because I believe that we're just here to make men better. We're make men leaders and make them, better husbands, better fathers. Like that's, so we're all, to
That's
me,
the
that's
goal.
the best
That's
part.
what
So
we're
yeah,
about.
so exactly. So my goal is to take and figure out all the different avenues and the different venues like this and other places where we can put these ideas that you and I are both dedicated to, and put them in front of every man, every single one of them, and have them make a choice as to whether or not they will be the man that they've been created to be, or whether they will choose to be less. And my personal mantra that I tell guys all the time is stop being less. Just stop it.
Yeah.
Stop being less. And so that's what's on the horizon for me, is to continue to work my face off. When I'm finally, they say, hey, we don't need to be president anymore. Cool. Great. I'll do it in 100 other ways, because that's the other thing that I've learned, through my service in F3 and other places as well, is that, look, the mission is what matters. The mission is all I'm doing is contributing in this little sphere of influence for this little period of time. And then when that's over, fine. I'm going to continue to fulfill the mission that I've been put here to fulfill. And it doesn't matter where I go, make me the janitor. Fine. I mean, I'm going to unlock men's minds from the bathroom. That's fine. I don't care. It doesn't matter. So that's what's on tap for me. We're going to continue to grow, I think, exponentially. We're seeing it. I mean, new workouts and new regions pop up literally 2 and 3 a week, and we operate on what we call a starfish model, right? So if you've ever read the Starfish and the Spider, it was a book by Orton.
No, I haven't.
You would like it. I think you would really like it. It's all about decentralized leadership. And so, and in much the same way that our church works, right? So when a group gets big enough, we go, hey, you guys might want to think about splitting that off, And so it continues to just sort of, when you chop a spider in half, the spider's dead, right? When you chop a starfish in half, it grows 2 new starfish, right? Same idea. So we operate on that starfish model. So we'll continue to, I mean, again, the goal is to say, hey, there's no gaps. We're in just about every state now, not every single one, as noted. Thank you, Maine. But right, but we're almost there, right? We're almost everywhere. And so then it's Canada, and then it's Mexico, and then it's whatever it is, So we just continue to grow and continue to spread the good word and to unlock men and to have them find the purpose in their life. Because we've interacted enough on Twitter and in other places that it's obvious that we're aligned on this, right? The government ain't going to save you, baby.
Right.
It ain't going to happen.
Yep.
Not
exactly.
And you shouldn't want it. You should not want it. But, some people do, right? And we get that. That's okay. We'll welcome you to a workout, and hopefully we'll persuade you otherwise. But they're not going to be the ones that are going to save you. There's no real institution that is formal that really can save you.
Right.
It's what happens in those institutions is fine, but we're here to say, no, society can't help you reclaim your manhood. No, society is not going to help you in any way to feed your family. Not really, not long-term, not when it all comes crashing down. Right. So you're going to have skills, and you're going to have leadership, and you're going to have community. That's what you're going to have if you're going to make it.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're all about building.
Awesome, man. Well, how do we connect with you and learn more about it? And the guys can connect with F3 Nation if they so choose.
Absolutely. So you go to f3nation.com. That's F, the number 3, nation, f3nation.com. And you can go there and find locations for workouts. You can find information about, hey, what do I do when I show up to my first one? And, other such nonsense. You can find the lexicon of all our idiot inside baseball lingo. because there's a whole language around this as well. It's bizarre how it's sort of evolved. But so go to f3nation.com, find yourself a workout. It'll direct you to the place that's most proximate to you. And then you jump out in there, man. If you don't see one that is near you, or you can't figure it out or whatever, just drop us a note. It's all real people and it's all day long.
Right on.
We're all on the mission. So you can do that. If you want to find me personally, you can send an email. Oh, here it comes. I can already see the smirk beginning. To darkhelmet@f3nation.com.
There you go. There you go.
Yep.
Cool, brother. Well, we'll sync everything up so the guys know where to go and know where to turn. Man, I appreciate you. I appreciate your mission. I got to go check another one out. It's been years and I need to go check one out. And as soon as I'm outside of Maine, I can go do that. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.